It's me, Phil, a simple Nova Scotian boy who moved to the bigger city of Ottawa, Canada many years ago, picked up a camera and set out to visit as many ballparks as possible. My travels have taken me all over North America, from the majors, to the minors, to the independents, and even Cuba. Please join me as I fill in the blanks on what makes baseball about so much more than balls and strikes. Listen to me.
Welcome back to Fill in the Blanks, Cuba Baseball. This is episode number 2. Or, for our Spanish-speaking fans, Fill on los espacio blanco el béisbol Cuba. This week, I'm going to talk about something that I might actually be qualified to yap on about. So, if you're not familiar, I'm actually a professional photographer and videographer, and a contributor to a website called Stadium Journey, www.stadiumjourney.com. So baseball stadiums are a big catalyst as to how I stumbled my way into being a photographer. No two stadiums are the same, and to me there's nothing better than the smell of fresh cut grass, the sound of the crack of the bat, and the suds off of a fresh cold beer.
This 7th inning siesta brought to you by Bucanero. Bucanero, yar!
I haven't been to as many Cuban stadiums as I'd like, but the ones that I have visited have definitely provided me with a unique experience. Just a little bit of background first and foremost. So most of the stadiums were built in the 1970s, and it shows. If it's possible to both be overwhelmed and underwhelmed at the same time, then Cuban baseball stadiums straddle that line very well. Perhaps a lot of that has to do with my expectations walking in. I kind of expected maybe just a cow patty with some stands. So I was very impressed when I first arrived at 5th of September Stadium in Cienfuegos to see the sheer massive structure of the building. And inside on a Friday night, 16,000 people packed the stadium. There was quite the buzz, which was good because the only other buzz would have been coming from my ass from sitting on the cement slabs that comprise most of the seats. If it weren't for the fact that my good friend and local host Osmani managed to get us box seats. Cuban box seats, still better than sitting on a cement slab, but basically what it means is a wrought iron lawn chair. The other advantage of going to a Cuban baseball game with a local, not that you're breaking the bank one way or another, but you do have a tendency to pay a little bit of a tourist tax.
Where are you from?
So baseball and most things in Cuba are still very affordable for the locals. There are two currencies. There is the Cuban peso, the CUP, or the convertible for tourists, the CUC, the CUC. The 90-game Cuban National Series season has undergone some changes in the past few years, where of the 16 teams, only 8 advance in the second half of the season. So at the 45-game mark, 8 teams cease playing and some of their players are dispersed. In future episodes, I'll get into what I believe the driving force behind this and what they hope to achieve through this is. But what it does mean is that unless I want to travel during a very specific period of time, many of my trips to Cuba have meant I've showed up to empty stadiums. This was unfortunately what happened during my last trip in January of 2017. With a little bit of luck, I could have potentially seen semifinal games and final games in Matanzas and Villa Clara. Unfortunately, the schedule was shifted at the last moment in Matanzas, so that times that worked for me no longer did. And then unfortunately, Matanzas and Villa Clara, two teams that were favored, were eliminated from the playoffs prematurely. But I did get a chance to check out Victoria de Giron Stadium in Matanzas and got a tour, even though it was empty, but it was kind of very, very different. One of the cooler stadium experiences for me was during my recent trip to Matanzas, which just walking around town discovered what was called Palmar del Junco, the cradle of Cuban baseball. Basically is Cuba's first stadium. It's no longer used for the National Series, but has been kept up as Cuban stadiums go. And on this Thursday afternoon, I actually stumbled onto a local game between some high school students, some probably aspiring to play at the highest level in Cuba. One of the nifty things about it is that beer was banned a long time ago at Cuban national games due to the passion of the locals. But for a local stadium, they actually sold beer in the middle of the afternoon, and actually had a really cool concession stand as well. So one of the things that Cuba has been a little bit slow to adapt, as you can imagine, a communist nation, is trying to find merchandise for your favorite teams, or something as simple as a t-shirt or a hat or a trinket. But this market is starting to open up. One of the things that I would advise people before going to a Cuban game, if you do get the chance, you might want to fill up before you go. They do sell some snacks, basically popcorn or little cones full of peanuts. They do have some ham sandwiches, or occasionally fried dough balls. Think of it as chicken fingers without the chicken. As well, one of two things. Use the washroom before you go, or bring baby wipes. The washrooms, at least at 5th of September Stadium, I think we're in the running for the location for the filming of the first Saw movie. They are grisly, so yeah, just be forewarned.